Again, for those who are just joining, my name is Richard Pollack. I'm the one of the co-founders and the CEO of Pauling Labs, the Nrc company. And today we've got a presentation that I'm going to talk about. Really, the next level is sugar-free. And it's really all about how vitamins, minerals, and diet have a direct impact on our physiological and psychological development. And thankfully, our partners at Healthy Planet have brought us in today to talk to you guys. There's going to be a Q&A that is available afterwards. So if you guys have any questions, just please put them in the comment fields, and I'll make sure that that I answer hopefully all your questions towards the end. But we've got quite a presentation, or a lengthy presentation, to go through, and yeah, I hope you find it interesting and thought-provoking. Let me just get to my next slide. If we're not, so that's me, and I was born in 1969. I was born with some severe dyslexia, hyperactivity, ADHD, and a variety of behavioral issues. That picture you're seeing was taken literally 5 minutes before I figured out that the keys were in the ignition of the car, started the car, and backed it up and tore the driver's side passenger off the car. So I have the key distinction of smashing up my first car at 3 years old. My parents obviously were dismayed. I wasn't allowed into anyone's homes. I wasn't allowed at uncles and aunts. I had a major problem with ADHD and my other issues. And it wasn't until I met Dr. Abram Hoffer at the Orthomolecular Society, which I'll get to in a minute, before my problems were taken care of and treated. And they were treated through supplementation and diet. And primarily with my diet, it was treated with no sugar. So very germane to this presentation and to where I am today. But really, some interesting facts before we begin that I wanted to share with you guys. So this stat is from 2012. The numbers are about the same annually, but every year, 56 million people die on planet Earth. That number is wrong right below. It's 600,000 people die from violence, wars, and gun violence. So it's not 6,000, but 600,000. And, you know, the rest of the people, that 56 million is old age and other issues. 800,000 die from suicide every year, which is a very interesting stat and something that we at Nrc and Pauling Labs are concerned about and try to deal with some of the mental health issues that we support as well. But here's where things get interesting, guys. That same year, 1.5 million people died from diabetes-related diseases. 3 million people died from obesity-related diseases. And what that means, folks, is sugar is now more dangerous to humanity than gunpowder. And I just want to go back through those stats one more time so we look at them. 56 million people died. 600,000 died from violence, wars, gun violence, all kinds of violence. 800,000 died from suicide. But almost double the people that died from violence died from, or pardon me, yeah, that died from violence, died from diabetes. And then you can go even further and say that 3 million died from obesity. So it's really interesting that all of a sudden we've gone from a society that where malnutrition was a major issue to the fact that our overconsumption of sugar is now more dangerous than wars, disease, and famine combined. I'm just going to give you some sugar facts too. So most sugar in the North American diet comes from beverages, and I'm not sure if all of you were aware of that. Regular consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages is really the main thing associated with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and of course, dental issues. So sugar also suppresses immunity. And, our business is immunity. And so 20 teaspoons of sugar, that's 2 12-ounce sodas a day, will cause a 50% drop in the ability of white blood cells to engulf bacteria in the body. It's a really interesting fact. You drink 2 sodas and you've got a 50% drop in your ability to fight disease. So I'm going to jump back to my adolescence with sugar and my early years. So as I said, I had severe hyperactivity, severe dyslexia, other behavioral issues. Everybody wanted to put me on Ritalin. Thankfully, my grandparents lived next door to a fellow by the name of Dr. Abram Hoffer. And Dr. Hoffer was one of the founders of the Orthomolecular Society. The Orthomolecular Society is really the group of doctors and scientists that are responsible for the natural health industry today. These are a group of guys: Linus Pauling, Erwin Stone, Abram Hoffer, Albert Sancient-Gheorghi, who said, hey, we don't have to treat diseases and physiological illnesses with pharmaceuticals. We can treat them with diet and supplementation. So it's really about how we treat the body and how we treat the symptoms, as opposed to just covering up the symptoms with pharmaceuticals. So my treatment included megadoses of vitamin C, megadoses of niacin, and megadoses of B12. Just going to check on the comments here. This slideshow will be available for distribution after, for sure. And I'm going to get to most of the questions after as well. So vitamin C, niacin, B12. The other thing that was key to my treatment, guys, was no sugar. So they removed all sugar from my diet in conjunction with the supplementation from the time I was 3 up until, I hit puberty and then started sneaking, bits of sugar here and there. But my sister used to do science experiments on me, and she would sneak me a maraschino cherry and pop it in my mouth and watch me explode. It was really quite dramatic. So you could actually see the change with just taking a little bit of sugar and red dye number 9, and bam, I would explode. So thankfully to Dr. Hoffer and the Orthomolecular Society, I was able to overcome my dyslexia, overcome my hyperactivity and my attention deficit disorder, as well as a couple of the other issues that I had. I can also say, because I was able to spend some time professionally later in life with Dr. Hoffer before he died, that he is the reason where I am today with Pauling Labs and the Nrc company. So a lot of indebtedness to him and the Orthomolecular Society. We're going to jump back now, guys, and we're going to jump into history. And we're going to talk about vitamin C, because that's really where my area of specialty is. I've been involved in vitamin C research and study and production of products for the past 30 years. So I'm going to give you another fun fact. And I'm going to say, unless you're a First Nations person on the call, and I hope we're all going to observe Truth and Reconciliation Day this Friday, because it's important. But unless you're First Nations, you would not be sitting watching this presentation today in North America. Because without vitamin C, we would not have been able to cross the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Vitamin C was discovered as first use in 1617. And it was discovered in 1617 by John Woodall. And he discovered it as really the source of scurvy. And what they found is that without vitamin C and citrus fruits, people would start to die on these long sea voyages. So when they started carrying citrus fruits to get the vitamin C, people started to not have scurvy. And I'm going to talk a little bit later on about what scurvy is, what vitamin C deficiency is, and why I believe humans all suffer from what's a genetic defect of what's called hypoascorbicemia or vitamin C deficiency. Let's jump forward from 1617 to 1937. And in 1937, vitamin C started being mass produced. 1937, 2 Nobel Prizes were awarded for vitamin C. Very interesting. It's the only vitamin that's had 2 Nobel Prizes in the first year. That's how important vitamin C was considered at the time and is still clearly considered today. Albert Szent-Györgyi won for the isolation of vitamin C. And in that same year, Sir Walter Norman Haworth won the Nobel Prize for the mass production of vitamin C. So the minute it was isolated, we started mass producing it. That's how important it was for the diet and the health of human beings on this planet. I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3 C's. There's a 4th C that I'm not going to talk a lot about, but I'm going to talk about these 3 C's, and I'll mention the 4th C at the end. So the first vitamin C that was isolated back in 1937 by Sir Walter was ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is the vitamin C that we're all most familiar with. It is a little bit hard on the stomach because what it does is it drops our pH level. So if you're consuming a mass amount of ascorbic acid, it'll drop your pH from a normal level of about 7.5 to about a 5. And when your pH drops, folks, that means your acidity in your body goes up. So it can cause, as our lovely model on the left-hand side is showing, can show some gastrointestinal distress. Ester C is an intermediate form of vitamin C, which was discovered in the 1970s. And basically, it was discovered by accident. It's essentially calcium ascorbate that is a buffered form of vitamin C, almost pH neutral, but not mineral ascorbate. And we use mineral ascorbate in Nrc. And mineral ascorbate is the form of vitamin C that is used by all animals other than human beings, guinea pigs, and fruit bats. There's a 4th form of vitamin C called liposomal, but I'm not going to talk a lot about that because there's not a lot of science or research on that at this time, but work's being done. So let's talk about mineral ascorbate for a minute. So all animals produce their own vitamin C with the exception of us and the fruit bats and guinea pigs. The animals that do produce it in a very interesting way. It's almost done through a hormonal process, much the same way that we produce the hormones in our own body through the thalamus, signaling the body to produce more vitamin C. So I want to talk about a rat, which is physiologically very similar to human beings, and that's why a lot of drugs are tested on rats. So a rat will produce anywhere from 2,700 milligrams, that's 2.7 grams, to 13 grams, 14 grams a day. So 13.9, call it 14,000 milligrams. They produce more in times of stress. So if a rat is put under physical or physiological or psychological stress, it will produce more vitamin C. And as we look at the other animals on this chart, you can see the same thing. Shocking how much a rabbit will produce in their bodies. So very, very interesting. When we talk about recommended daily intake in humans, it's really quite low. But I'm a big believer that because we all suffer from this genetic defect called hypoascorbicemia, or the inability to manufacture our own vitamin C, we should be taking between 2,000 and 4,000 milligrams a day. And that amount of vitamin C should only be taken in the form of mineral ascorbate and failing access to mineral ascorbate, Ester C. Linus Pauling, who you all may be very familiar with, was a huge advocate in taking up to 10 grams of vitamin C a day. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why we should be taking so much vitamin C. So it's not just for immunity. People think, okay, I'm going to take vitamin C for immunity. I'm not feeling well. I've got a cold or flu. I want to boost my immune system. Yes, you're right. But you're also wrong because you're missing out on some of the most important parts of vitamin C. When you guys are visiting your local Healthy Planet, you'll notice there's a lot of really great collagen products on the shelves. Well, vitamin C is a very important precursor to helping build collagen. This is why we have a lot of bodybuilders, athletes that what's called stack vitamin C. They take a vast amount of vitamin C in order to up their internal collagen production. I'm going to run through each one of these items, the vascular health, oxygen, energy, and adrenal fatigue, because I have slides on all of them. So I'll walk through them. But I want to talk a little bit about the collagen production as well. So collagen is really only going to be produced when vitamin C is present. And as you can see there in these diagrams, you can see on the right-hand side, you've got the collagen in the little white areas, the elastin and the fibroblasts, or the pink areas. That collagen is so key. And really, when people try to apply vitamin C to their skin, it's okay for the top layer, for just the epidermis. But if you're going to go below the skin into the dermis, you need to take it orally. You need to consume vitamin C, and it needs to be taken up in the bloodstream. So really important that we have vitamin C to create within the cells and build that keratin is that vitamin C. So when you're taking your collagen supplements, make sure that you're consuming Nrc or other vitamin C products. I'm hoping it's an Nrc product because ours is the mineral ascorbate, but it will help with that production of the vitamin C. The other thing that we need to talk about is vascular health and oxygen absorption. So if you remember in the slide previously, we had animals that produce their own vitamin C, and quite a lot of it. So what we're seeing in those animals is that they have a much lower risk of cardiovascular disease. They also, and this is correlative, there's nothing scientific, there's no scientific proof on this, but there's a correlation. Animals that produce their own vitamin C happen to live 7 times their age of maturity. So if we were producing our own vitamin C, there is a thought that if we physically mature at 20 years old, we could be living up to 140 years old. So very interesting to be able to look at that and look at it from that perspective. Vitamin C has also been associated with increased nitric oxide production and reduced oxidative stress and increased blood flow, so vasodilation. I'm going to talk about that for a minute. So what that means is, and there are some really good scientific papers on oxygen absorption and vitamin C serum levels. What that means is the more vitamin C you have in your body, the better your lungs are able to absorb oxygen and move it through your body. There's some really great studies on that. There's some actually good studies on how vitamin C is helping support issues with cystic fibrosis and other items, because it does increase that oxygen absorption in the lungs. That nitric oxide production is really about reducing the oxidative stress in the body. And the oxidative stress, just to talk about it, is really all about anti-aging. Free radical oxygen molecules are the reason we age. Oxygen is a poison, although we need it to breathe. So if we were in a pure environment of oxygen, it would be devastating for the body. But with these free radical oxygen molecules, what they're doing is they're bouncing around and they're causing oxidative stress. And most importantly, where they're causing oxidative stress is in our telomeres. And these telomeres are these hair-like structures in our bodies that are responsible for transferring chromosomal information when our cells split and we create new cells. So oxidative stress, these free radical oxygen molecules bounce around and they cause these telomeres to fray. And that's where you get genetic mutation occurring. And that's why we start to wrinkle, we start to age, our bodies start to break down, our skin starts to sag, etc. Vitamin C isn't the cure-all for sure, but if we were able to find a relief for oxidative stress in totality, I think we would have a very good pathway to living longer, healthier lives. I've got the article just on below if anybody's interested on the oxygen that was published in 2015, the effect on vitamin C on bronchial constriction and respiratory systems caused by exercise, a review and analysis. And that's available online. Anyway, oxygen absorption, very interesting, very important. Going to talk about energy, and we called our product Nrc, Nr Life, because it's all about energy. Well, guys, we're bags of mostly water. I know we'd like to think of ourselves more than that, but that's what we are. And electrolytes are the superhighway that, or the electrolytes travel along our superhighway of nerves that are really about moving energy, nerve signals. Every touch, feeling, smell, taste you have is because of electrolyte transportation through the nerve endings. So the electrolytes, it's that highway that creates our nerves to move back and forth and information back and forth. So electrolytes are about hydration. And when we're hydrating, we need the minerals and vitamins in order to create and supplement and keep our electrolytes up. Most notably, sodium, potassium, magnesium are the chief electrolytes. Calcium is also an electrolyte, but it really allows for that transportation of nerve signals back and forth. The way that electrolytes are absorbed is through the small intestine, and it's pumped through something called co-transport. And what that means is it allows it's reverse osmolality basically. And what ends up happening is the electrolytes travel through the small intestine. Sugar, ATP and ADP energy will pump from the small intestine the electrolytes into the bloodstream. So you've got to have a little bit of sugar in order to get the pure electrolyte push and get that energy. So I can give you guys another science experiment to do on yourselves. And I don't suggest the maraschino cherry experiment on any of your hyperactive kids, but this is a good one you can try. So we all suffer from something called post-lunchtime dip or energy dip. So you eat lunch, your energy starts to go down, and it goes down because the vagus nerve in the body is pumping all your electrolytes into your stomach to help to digest your meal that you've just eaten. If you take a packet of Nrc either during or just after, you'll find that you don't have that lunchtime dip because the energy from the electrolytes is allowing your body to pick up. The other interesting thing is that we have B vitamins in Nrc, and B vitamins give you energy because they convert your food into energy. So you get that double whammy, and that's why we've called our product Nrc. The adrenal fatigue. Vitamin C for adrenal fatigue is so important because we're constantly, particularly in today's world, under that adrenal fatigue. The vitamin C, as we had seen with the animals, when they have more adrenal stress, they produce more vitamin C. And adrenal fatigue and adrenal stress also produces more free radical oxygen molecules, which causes us to age faster than we should. So why supplement with vitamin C? We've talked about B vitamins. We've talked about magnesium, sodium, potassium, calcium, electrolytes. The niacin is another B vitamin. Manganese, another electrolyte. And the zinc, we've got 5 milligrams of zinc in Nrc as a real help for immunity. So just to point out to you guys a little bit, we've got The original vitamin C drink mixes that, by the way, are all on sale right now at Healthy Planet for $12.99. The only one that's not at $12.99 is the lemon lime, which you can pick up for $12. And I just wanted to sort of run through here, and I've got a few more things to get through, but just on that original NRC, you've got the vitamin C and zinc, so helping build that immune function, your multivitamins and minerals, giving you the energy, and then our natural non-GMO cane sugar. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about sugar-free, but these products have 5 grams of sugar. 5 grams is considered low glycemic by the Canadian Diabetes Society, so it's not a lot of sugar. We were talking about the sodas earlier. Sodas, for example, a Coke, which is pretty much poison in my mind, has almost 50 grams of sugar in it, so 10 times the amount. And the sugar that we're using is evaporated cane. And then all of our flavors are real fruit powders. So orange, raspberry, peach, mango, all real fruit, all real, any colors you see in our products are all from either fruit or vegetable source. So just really jumping quickly, we've got our original and then we've got our sugar-free. I'm gonna jump past that slide and just we'll go back to it. Talk a little bit about the sugar-free. So as you guys remember from the early part of the conversation, I have been against sugar all of my life. I can't eat sugar. I find that when I eat sugar now in my adult years, it makes me feel, it doesn't make me feel good at all. I don't drink alcohol, but it makes me, after I've had a piece of cake or something or cookie, I feel hungover. It's a really interesting effect on me. So it was really important to create this sugar-free product. And as I said earlier, part of the reason why I'm in this business is because of Dr. Hoffer and the Orthomolecular Society. And I'll never forget, even at 3 years old, Dr. Hoffer, talked to me about the pills, but the number one thing he said to me is, remember, no junk, no junk. And, he was referring to sugar. So it was my legacy to him and the Orthomolecular Society to create these sugar-free products. We created them from people like myself, people on low sugar, who are diabetic or on low carb diets. Guys, one of the things that is too bad about sugar-free and natural sugar-free products is it's synonymous with taste bad. I grew up, again, in my own household as a kid, having carob birthday cakes. No sugar in anything. People would come to birthday parties and I'd get my own cake. They'd get a regular cake. It was horrific. So for me, in designing these products, they had to taste great. So it took a long time. Our company's been around 7 years, and it literally took 6 of those years to produce good tasting products. So we came out first with an orange, then with a mixed berry. Now we have a lemon ginger and a passion fruit. And guys, again, all real fruit powders. So all sugar-free, but nothing fake. So nothing synthetic, no sugar, and less than 11 calories. The calories come from the real fruit powder. 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, again, and the immunity and the energy. So the energy you're getting from the bees, what I'd like to suggest that if you're taking it for the electrolytes, and we have an electrolyte product, that you eat it with a piece of fruit. So if you want the electrolyte benefit, have a little piece of fruit along with the sugar-free, and you will get the absorption. Or if you take it just after a meal as well. But speaking of electrolytes, we also have, and Healthy Planet carries these as well, an NRC Sport, which is a pure electrolyte. It was based on the World Health Organization's oral rehydration standards. So if you have illness, dysentery, whatever, it's essentially saline in a bag, in a packet. So we've dehydrated a bag of saline and put it into our NRC Sport. It contains 1 gram of gluten-free glucose to assist with the electrolyte absorption. It's all natural. It's got no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. And really, it tastes just like the fruit. So we have a berry, and I'm drinking the lemon lime right now. So a really powerful electrolyte. And just again, it's a clinical level of electrolyte for optimal rehydration. We've got the vitamin C for immunity and oxygen absorption. And we've got our non-GMO glucose in there as well at 800 milligrams. And the reason we've included this non-GMO glucose is, as I talked about earlier, in the electrolyte absorption in the gut, that glucose creates immediate absorption, and the ratio to glucose and electrolyte is sort of what's termed as perfect osmolality. So it just allows for those electrolytes to flow directly into the small intestine. So, and then the other thing is that I wanted to share with you guys too, is just some innovation that we have coming, which is really exciting, is that we're launching the very first vitamin D3 that is plant-based. It'll be called NRD. It's the only vegan registered source of vitamin D3. It's from lichen. It's highly bioavailable, and we all know that vitamin D needs to be taken in a fat-soluble form. So it's been sprayed in with MCT oil, coconut oil, for better absorption. There's beta-carotene, and then vitamin C, vitamin B's, calcium, and zinc as well. The other thing is the sugar-free, and I should have mentioned earlier on our sugar-free products, we've sweetened them with stevia and erythritol. And I got to tell you guys, the reason why it took me 6 years to build this is because I hate the taste of stevia. It's like I'm a super taster. I put it in my, it's like I put a metal bar in my mouth and I'm tasting metal for days. So what we did is we found a very special type of stevia called Reb stevia, and then we combined it with erythritol, which is a tree alcohol, and has no glucose impact on the body whatsoever, no glycemic impact, pardon me. So the erythritol and the stevia combined together really create a really nice, sweet, natural taste that allows us to not have any sugar in our product. And then on the D's, I had talked about a little bit. That's sort of it. And I know that I went quite quickly through the presentation, but I also wanted to, I'm going to come to your questions as well, because I see I've got some questions there. But remember, it's $12.99 at Healthy Planet right now. The lemon lime is $12, and the sugar frees are all $12.99 as well, which is a smoking hot deal. So we're really happy with our partners from Healthy Planet, that they're supporting us in such a great way, and that we ask that you support Healthy Planet as much as they support little businesses like ours. And we're just really proud to be partnering with them. So I'm going to jump into some of the questions here. And I will be sharing the presentation afterwards, Sylvia asks. And daily intake question. That's great after ditching sugar. Thank you so much, Lori, for mentioning that you love it. And thank you guys very much. Oh, Andrew is asking, is it okay for somebody with IBS? Absolutely. So that mineral ascorbate should have no gastrointestinal issue. But what I suggest to you that you do is that you try one packet and see how it goes. But you shouldn't have any gastrointestinal issues at all. So interesting. Someone asked, I bought Emergency. What is the difference between Emergency and Nrc? There's actually a real significant difference. And guys, with all candor, I started my career at 28 with Emergency. I loved Emergency, but Emergency was sold to a large pharmaceutical company, and I, along with others, lost our jobs. And we love that product. So we said, how can we take that product and make it better? And so what we did is we created Nrc, which is different in its formulation, and then it's got vitamin A, vitamin E, it's got iodine from a seaweed source, so protecting your thyroid. It's got 2 to 4 grams less sugar. We're non-GMO certified. We use real fruit powders instead of synthetics. So there are really a lot of differences. And the other thing I'll suggest is we taste a lot different. So for those who asked what the difference is, you just need to taste the difference, and that should tell you everything. Jumping into some of the other questions Lori asked, safe daily intake of C. So happy I can enjoy this product with being diabetic because I've had the original for so long. And when I was diagnosed, I was upset, but then found the sugar-free. Lori, we created it for you. It's exactly, you're exactly the person we created it for, and thank you for that comment. Ali asks, does erythritol or stevia spike insulin? How do they affect our gut biome? Ali, awesome question. So first of all, there is no spike in glycemic levels. As far as the impact on the gut biome, there have been some studies that large intake of stevia can affect some inflammation in the biome, which can affect our flora in there. I'm happy to report that erythritol doesn't have that issue, and our sugar-free formula is 0.06% of our total formula. So there's such a tiny amount of stevia in there, it has zero effect. But you know, taking large amounts of stevia can affect it. And that's why people don't suggest baking with stevia and things like that, but very, very tiny amount. Ali also asks, does Nrc contain maltodextrin? Ali, the original form does, but I'll point you to the label and I'll point out that it contains tapioca maltodextrin. So it's from cassava root, totally natural, and so it's not a corn or a high fructose type of malto. It's just extracted from tapioca, and so there's a little tiny bit in there, and we use it to help with flow on our production, but very, very minute amounts. And again, if you look on the label, it's from tapioca, so not the malto that you're familiar with. And it has no glycemic impact. The tapioca doesn't anyway. Kathy asks, how much can you use in a day? You know, Kathy, it really depends on your ability to absorb it. So with the mineral ascorbate, we say you can absorb quite a bit of it. My suggestion is I believe everybody should be taking 2,000 milligrams a day. That's 2 packets of Nrc as a minimum, because as you saw, those animals, and I'll flip to that slide right now, those animals that we have, and it's a pretty interesting slide, if I can get there, and I'm frozen right now, is up to anywhere from 3 on a very slow day, all the way up to 13 grams. I lost my spleen, guys, when I was 12 years old. So I'm super susceptible to getting diseases, illnesses, things like that. So I take a lot of vitamin C. Dr. Linus Pauling said, you know, take up to 10 a day. But I would suggest you start with 2 or 3 and see how that goes. But you'll find with Nrc, it has no glycemic impact. Ali also asked, when you were advised to avoid sugar, was it only refined sugar? Yeah, so I was able to eat in sparing amounts fruit sugars from fruit, but that was the only type of sugar that I got. So I had no ability to eat any refined sugar unless that devilish sister of mine fed me a little bit of sugar just to watch the reaction. So even any cake or sweet that I got was all, my mom went to a lot of trouble to just use fruit sugars and everything. Tina asks, does it contain ascorbic acid? So we do have a tiny little bit of ascorbic acid. It's about, out of the 1,000 milligrams, it's about 100, it's 100 milligrams of ascorbic acid. Why did we include that? Well, we did it because of the effervescence. So the ascorbic acid combines with the mineral bicarbonates and the mineral ascorbate to create a natural effervescence. What ends up happening is in that chemical process, when you add the water, the 100 milligrams of ascorbic acid converts into mineral ascorbate. So the mineral ascorbate sort of takes it over, and it's just a sort of a grade 10 conversion, grade 10 chemistry on how that converts the acid into the mineral ascorbate. So that's I think that's all the questions. Oh, there's one chat. Let me pull that up. Oh, Jay Bedard asks, are the ingredients locally sourced? So some of the ingredients are the fruit powders for the most part. We do try to pull the raspberry, the lemon, and the lime are pulled here. The orange, unfortunately, the orange powder is not, but it does come from the United States. But everything is assembled, made. All of our packaging is made in Burnaby, British Columbia. Our factory is in Burnaby, British Columbia. But we do pull fruit sources and some other sources around from different locations. Part of the reason we do that is also because everything that we produce is non-GMO certified by a third party. So sometimes we can't get everything that we need out of Canada, which is too bad. And then there's one more chat. Let's see here. I'm looking. Was there another chat you said?
NRC compared to NRC booster.
The NRC compared to the NRC booster. I don't see that one. Can you just read that one out for me still?
Can you compare NRC non-sugar to an Ester C booster?
Oh, yeah, you know what? They're both Canadian companies. I'm going to suggest that the NRC, I don't know really very much about that company. I've tasted, all I would suggest to you is that you taste that product. I know that they're owned by, I think, the Carlyle Group, or a very large US company that owns, so I don't know a lot about them. They do produce many other products. The Sisu is a great Canadian heritage company. So I can't really comment on that. I'm not sure if they make a sugar-free or not. But again, I have tasted it. So I would just suggest to you that you taste the two side by side. I also think, I believe that the NRC has more in it, but again, you'd have to compare that. I can talk about the Emergency all day long, but I can't talk about the Ester C Energy Boost as well. But it does have the Ester C in it, so better than ascorbic acid for sure. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys very much for your time today. Really enjoyed being here with you. And again, the thanks really must go out to Healthy Planet for having us here today. They're such a wonderful community supporter, and particularly the Canadian manufacturers. And we're just so lucky to be partnered with them. So please, when you go and pick up your NRC, please pick it up from Healthy Planet. And enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thank you. Oh, thank you very, very much. Bye-bye.